Dollar. Dirt and money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack and flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yo, what's good, original crew? It's your boy DJ New Kid, your girl
Sierra Nicole.
We back on the channel with another
Kid and C original.
Got a good one for y'all today. She already discombobulated.
No, I looked at this title.
We got today, man, 10 people who woke up at their own funeral. Now, what if you woke up?
I have heard this happening before.
And you see them doing this. All you see is the casket closing up. You gonna be like, what the get me out!
Bruh, I'm ready for this.
Even if you ain't got the strength, you gonna try.
I don't know.
Let me be nigga. You know me, I'm busy.
Come on, bruh.
Before we get into this, man, make sure y'all check out the links in the description box down below. You already know where to go. If you want to further support the channel, always check out the links in the description box down below. Yeah, it's a little nat. It's alright. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's check it out. Let's see what it's about.
Imagine one day you're mourning your friend or loved one at their funeral. That's when, all of a sudden, they wake up. This may sound like something from fiction, but believe it or not, it's happened many times in real life before. From people everyone had thought had passed on, but they were wrong, to people who faked their own passing and funeral just to see who would turn up. Noela Rukundo.
That's smart, though.
The story of Noela Rukundo made headlines around the world in 2016. She lives in Australia, but one day she had to return to her home of Burundi. This was to attend the
Oh, that's what Burundi.
But one day she had to return to her home of Burundi.
That's my old college roommate from. I don't never hear nothing. You see how small it is? Oh, that's what Rwanda. Oh, that's where he from. Okay.
This was to attend the funeral of her stepmother. What she didn't know, however, was her husband had arranged a hitman to take her out when she was there. When Noela arrived in Burundi, the hitmen grabbed her. But when they realized her own husband had ordered the hit, they gave her freedom. Noela then returned home. However, the hitmen told her husband that they completed the job. That's because they still wanted to get paid. So Noela's husband, believing that she'd been taken out, arranged her funeral. But he was stunned when Noela confronted him at her own funeral. Later on, her husband, Balenge, was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Noela then went on to start a new life with her 8 children. It's crazy that this couple had been married for 10 years, and then Balenge decided to do that. Thankfully, the hitmen were outraged. Otherwise, Noela would not have left Burundi alive. But just imagine the look on her husband's face when she shows up at her own funeral he planned. Matthew Wall.
That's all jacked up, bro.
That is crazy.
I'm going back for a funeral.
And
you already planned
to take me out at a funeral?
Oh, I gotta cut all that out.
I do, but I don't care. Like, it's like people drop out.
People drop out. Look at you, baby, do it.
This took place in the village of Brawning, Hertfordshire, England. On the 2nd of October, the town came together for the funeral of local farmer Matthew Wall. But on the way to the funeral, one of the pallbearers dropped the coffin. That may sound like a bad thing, but it's actually a great thing that it happened. That's because the jolt was enough to wake up Matthew Wall. Matthew, the farmer, then went on to live for 2 more decades. And his coming back to life is a continued celebration for the village of Brawning. It's not known if he...
I got a question, though.
They didn't.
Not all countries believe in embalming, though. Because technically, are you supposed to embalm somebody?
I wouldn't.
Because you...
I guess it's because that's all I know, because of what we...
Americanized.
Yes. Wow.
So good thing they didn't embalm
Good
him.
thing
So
they
would have killed
don't.
him.
Yeah.
And he lived 20 more years after the fact.
Wow.
Simply sleeping or in a coma. But his vital signs were checked many times and he was confirmed to not be alive.
Wow.
It's kind of scary hearing this. It makes you wonder how many people are buried alive.
Yeah.
Gilberto Arroyo. Just imagine if your entire family thought you'd passed away, when in reality you're alive and well. This is what happened to Gilberto Arroyo of Brazil. In 2012, he was confirmed to not be alive. This was after his brother identified his body at a local morgue. His family members and friends were all standing around his coffin mourning him. But that's when Gilberto turned up at the door. So what happened? Well, it turned out it was a case of mistaken identity. Gilberto Arroyo worked at a car washer's in Alagoinhos, Brazil. At that same car wash, another car washer had been taken out. The other car washer looked a lot like Gilberto, and that's why Gilberto's brother mistook the car washer for him.
But you still should know, like, your brother. Like, I don't care. I know who my sister is. You can have somebody, but I would know my sister. I'm sure
That
you'll know
is
your brother.
Yeah, that's.
The two brothers weren't that close. Or maybe the other car washer was hard to recognize from his injuries. Either way, his friends and family were shocked when Gilberto walked into his own funeral. But this must not have only been a shock for his family, but for him too. Just imagine being alive when your entire family thinks you're not. Nicephorus Glycus. Nicephorus Glycus was a bishop working in a church in Lesbos, Greece. That's when one day he was found and declared to not be alive. In accordance with tradition, his body was left on display in the Methymni church. But after 2 nights of his body being on display, something scary happened. Nicephorus sat up and demanded to know what was going on. It turned out he was alive and well. He said he'd simply been having a long nap. But others believe he may have fell into some kind of coma. Local medics had checked his vital signs and confirmed he was not living. As he was in this ancient church, some believed a miracle had occurred, while others thought perhaps it was a bizarre medical phenomenon. Mohammed Rayhan.
These people ain't dead.
One day, Mohammed Rayhan of Damascus, Syria, was at a local market. That was when there was a big airstrike nearby. The local market took the force of the blast. For whatever reason, he was reported as passing away. It was said he was buried under the rubble and sadly did not make it. But that was only half true. His friends and family organized his funeral. And a few days later, with no body, this went ahead. But his friends and family were relieved when he turned up just as his funeral was coming to an end. Mohammed had been buried under the rubble for 36 hours. But eventually, without a rescue team, he was able to free himself. When he walked into the funeral, there was still debris stuck in his hair and beard. Just imagine if you were his loved one. It would have been an emotional roller coaster hearing he'd passed on and then finding out he was okay.
That's wild.
Wow.
Just imagine walking into your own funeral and people are there, like,
Having a funeral
and
for you.
Just imagine you just turn your head, you just like, you know what I'm saying?
Crazy, yes.
Walter Williams.
Shocking, bro.
On February 26, 2014, Walter Williams of Mississippi was confirmed to not be alive. He was 78 years old at the time. All of the paperwork was completed and he was put into a body bag. He was then taken to a funeral home. But one day before his funeral, as he was being prepared, something strange happened. The coroner noticed him breathing very lightly. Then all of a sudden his legs began to move and it was clear that Walter was alive. He was taken to a hospital and it was confirmed he was in fact alive. But this respawn sadly did not last too long. That's because 2 weeks later he passed away for real. His nephew was quoted as saying, "I think he's actually gone this time." Again, an emotional roller coaster hearing that a loved one passed on, they were alive, and then they pass on again. It may sound like fiction, but this really can happen. This is known as Lazarus syndrome, which is where you pass on and then come back to life.
Is that something real for real?
It's like
you legit die, but you end up coming back and then dying again. I never
But that's the thing too. Like you said earlier, think of so many people that's probably like.
Luckily, but think about how many people in America, because since the American system goes through the embalming process and all that.
Of how many people
that probably
were
wasn't.
not.
Yeah,
it's.
Probably was not dead, and then y'all embalm and take out all these.
It's crazy.
Mohammed
I don't want to be
Furkan.
embalmed.
In 2019, Mohammed Furkan's family were very sad. A grave had been dug and they were about to bury their loved one. That's when the incredible happened. All of a sudden, Mohammed, who was supposedly not alive, began to move. He is confirmed to not be alive by multiple doctors, but the 20-year-old was actually fine. He was rushed to a hospital and placed on a ventilator. The 20-year-old had been involved in a road incident, and apparently his family were only told he was not alive when they stopped paying the hospital bills because they ran out of money. This prompted an investigation into the healthcare system of the state of Uttar Pradesh. His older brother said the family had been left traumatized by the roller coaster of emotions, and frankly, I can see why. Zhang Diyang. Zhang Diyang was a 66-year-old man from China, but one day he had an idea to stage his own funeral. He arranged it himself, simply to see how many people would show up. He was curious because he'd never been married and never had any children.
Wow.
In Chinese culture, the passed on are said to have needs. Their graves are supposed to be visited on a regular basis to ensure these needs are met. It turned out that 40 invitees turned up to Zhang's funeral, along with several hundred others. But incredibly, he still was not happy. 20 friends and relatives did not show up, and he was quoted as saying, "I can't believe so many relatives and friends don't care about me. Frankly, I'd be pretty happy if over 100 people showed up to my funeral."
Yeah.
Camille. One day, a 25-year-old Polish man had drank too much vodka. His friends called for an ambulance when he collapsed at a bar. He was then taken to a hospital and was confirmed to not be alive. But when he went to the morgue, it was found he was actually alive still. Rather than go home, the man named Camille went right back to the bar where his friends still were.
He a true alcoholic.
Yeah,
He an alcoholic
that's
for real,
crazy.
bro. I can't. You can't imagine.
cannot.
Just like that, they picked up where they left off, drinking vodka. But now it's time for you to make your voice heard. Which...
Wow.
Which one would, like, the one that really gets me is the one with the brother. You can't even identify your own brother.
Well, like he said,
He said it's a possibility that they possibly wasn't close. It wasn't a fact.
No. I was about to say, like he said, they probably were not close. And the injuries, like, you don't know, like, how the gunman, like, the gunman shoot him in the face.
No, the other crazy one was the wife and her husband's head.
Now, that was crazy.
That was crazy,
bro. But yeah.
It's a couple crazy ones in here, bro. Like, even the Lazarus, bro, even the priest one.
All
the priest one, because you got to think about
he was taking a long nap.
But he could have died. You know what I'm saying? Religion could have died.
Yeah.
Like, he had the Lazarus
all
effect
crazy.
too, though.
All of them crazy to me.
It's just like, hey, if I'm gone, I'm gone. I don't want to come back.
I don't know.
Would you want to come back if you died and you can possibly come back? Would you want to come back after seeing what's on the other side?
Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question because some people like, I want to go back. You never, because you don't know.
If you go to the other side and there's some stuff that you ain't trying to see, you like,
or you trying to be a part of.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. But yeah,
let me go.
Let me go and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, that's crazy.
Y'all spam us up in the comment section down below. Let us know what y'all think about this one, man. Let us know which one was probably the craziest one for y'all. Hit us up in the comment section down below. But as always, y'all know how it go. I do go by the name DJ New Kid. This is.
Here,
We are y'all.
Ain't no time to kick it, got a stack of flip for my foes.